Welcome to the John Harrison Podcast. Statistics show us that about 70% of people are disengaged in the workplace. Obviously, that affects bottom lines of companies, individual, their own engagement at work, but also affects families and communities. We don't want to just be frustrated about things that are going on in the workplace or in the world. We want to do something about it. So we're going to talk about this while others aren't, and we hope you will join us on this journey.
Welcome back to the John Harrison Podcast. This is Madeline, and I have Jason and Melissa with me here today. We're going to be talking about how to peel back the onion and how it can keep you from crying. That probably sounds really vague to people, but Jason came up with this title, and it is such a great play on words because we use the phrase peeling back the onion a lot in our trainings, and it's the idea of getting to know your employees, getting to know your coworkers, kind of beyond the surface and peeling back their layers and getting to know, how they handle stress and their communication style and how they think and, want to be recognized and rewarded. Like all those things really matter, and it takes time, but it's so worth it. But there's also a lot of barriers. Jason, you were just talking about how, sometimes you feel like you don't have time or you're rushing around. And I think all of us have felt that before. Or some people may feel like they don't want to dig into personal stuff and that's not their job. Or people should just stick and do their work. Like keep your head down and just do your work.
Right.
Don't have all these side conversations. So why is it worth it, Jason? And what are kind of the consequences of not doing this?
Well, one thing it's going to take is time, right? To get to know your employees and your coworkers. It's going to take time, and that you have to realize in your head, right, that it's going to be worth it. Because anytime I get to know somebody better, that only helps our relationship. It makes me happier. Hopefully it makes them happier, right? And that's what I want to bring to the workplace. I want to be able to fill someone's water bottle. How am I going to fill someone's water bottle if I don't know anything about them? If I don't know what's going on with them? If I haven't asked them any questions about their life and what's happening? And anyway, so it actually fills my water bottle when I find out more stuff about people. So I like that. And so hopefully it does them too, because it makes them be seen and appreciated even, because sometimes I've worked at places where you weren't seen, right? And you weren't talked to by the supervisor at all unless you messed up, right? Yeah. And so being at a place where we can share what's going on with us at work and home even, I think that's a place where all of our water bottles can be more full. So when we do go home, we're feeling good about work.
That's really good.
Yeah, there's something that comes along with that, I think, is that it builds trust in between people. Absolutely. And builds trust in relationships. I mean, who knows? Maybe there's going to be a pandemic at some point in the future and you have to all go remote, right?
Yes.
And so now you're working with people remotely that you don't even know. But had you taken the time to build relationships with those people, the trust would have already been established, and there's a good foundation to work from. And I use that as an example because that's exactly what happened, to me. There were a lot of people for the company I was working for that I didn't have quote unquote relationships with, but then had to interact with them over Zoom all of a sudden. And that's tough to build relationships.
There's already challenges with Zoom.
Exactly. Yeah. But filling that water bottle and just getting to know people, there's so many positive residual things that come from that. I know a lot of times, and again, just kind of speaking from my career, early in my career too, I felt like it really wasn't my job to know people personally. I was there to do the work, kind of like what you were saying initially, Madeline. And with time and maturity and growth and just different exposure to situations, I learned that, yes, it is my job to know these people. While it was mostly in an HR capacity, and yes, I had work to get done, it was very helpful for me to know what was going on in some of those situations so that I could be like a sideline coach or, just offer guidance and direction at times when it was needed. And so it wasn't so much necessarily an advocate for something to happen or not happen, but it was just an advocate for the scenario that was in front of us, a third party looking in to help both sides understand. So it's just understanding people in general, I think, can be a win-win relative to conversations and building trust.
I know sometimes it's hard to ask questions maybe of your employees or to find out. And sometimes it's hard for the employees to share, right? Because maybe they've been hurt in the past, right, by previous employers.
Yeah.
But I think if we take the time and they know we care, right, care about them, care about their situation, I think that goes a long way to them being able to open up. There's some people that of course they'll open up right away and talk to me for 20 minutes about something, right? But then there's others that give you I'm fine, I'm good. How's everything going? In HR, I need to know if you are good or not. I don't just want to, I'm good, And so I want to make sure to
allow space for that and continue to ask.
Continue, right.
You don't have to be pushy, but
right.
Sometimes it's worth it, like you said, to ask the question, and then if they say I'm fine, you don't have to be like, are you really fine?
Right, right.
But
the conversation may start in the hall or in the kitchen break room. How are you doing? Fine.
Yes.
Well, then the next time you see them, you might be standing in the hall, perhaps outside their office, and you have a little conversation.
Yes.
And then the next time they might say, come on in, sit down.
Exactly.
I want to visit for a second.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it's building that rapport and just comfort level. And I think what you said was so key, Madeline, is not being pushy about it.
Yes.
Particularly if you happen using our personality styles, right? If you happen to be a strong otter and you love interacting and getting to know people, but realizing that someone that's a golden retriever, it may take a little while for them to warm up. So that progression of break room, hallway, office, that might take some time for that to happen.
Yeah. And I love during our sessions, John goes through I think it's in generations whenever he talks about a lot of this, or getting to know your people. There's a lot of topics that he talks through, and it's like, where'd you grow up? Like, what town are you from? Right. Did you grow up in a family, with brothers and sisters, or were you a single child? A single child?
An only child.
An only child. Are you a single child?
Are you a single child? Yes, I believe that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
I was thinking single parent, and I combined the two concepts. But I just think pointed questions like that. I mean, don't be weird about it. Let it come up in conversation. But I think that it will, especially if it's a new employee or you're a new employee and you're trying to get to know the people that are already there. There's value in learning those things and getting insight there.
So one of the main deals that at previous employers I've kind of had the role of keeping people happy, so to speak, so they stay there, so whatever you would call that role, I don't know, but also HR, but I think there's consequences of not understanding the people who you work with, because if they don't know you and they don't have a relationship, they're more apt to be able to cut that relationship off as far as work. They'll go to another workplace. Yeah. But if people feel valued, if they feel loved even, at a workplace, if they feel like their talents are being used, and the people they form relationships with, then that's going to keep them there, right? So even if you have a little bump in the road, something goes wrong at work, but that never happens, right? Where you have something go wrong at work. But let's just say it does. Well, they're more likely to stick through it if they have those relationships, if I've taken the time to peel back the onion of who they are, right? And so that's kind of where the concept came from about peel back the onion to keep you from crying. Because listen, if you're an employer and you have a star employee and you have no relationship with them, you hadn't peeled back anything over the time, and they leave, you're going to be crying, right? And so, and as a coworker, if I lose a coworker that's a star, I might be crying then too. So anyway, so that's one of the main consequences I can see. I mean, I'm sure there's others, but
well, I think about it too, like in terms of our service values for John Harrison. Two of those service values are to be personal, and to be professional.
Okay,
and a lot of times I think people are challenged or struggle with operating in those two spaces at the same time.
That's good.
And just trying to understand people, really what it boils down to in listening is listening. Being able to peel back the onion is maybe ask a simple question, but then listen. And they may not talk much the first few times, like we've said, but eventually if you're sincere and you're genuine about it,
yes.
and it's not a personal agenda of any kind,
Right.
then people are going to realize that about you.
Yes.
And again, it begins to build trust and reputation and just kind of the environment and the feel that you want among your coworkers, even us in our really small team, right?
Yes.
We have to be personal with each other, but we still have to be professional.
Yes.
We have a company that we're trying to protect in some ways, but we
Yes.
have business and we have clients, and we're trying to hold true to all of those things. But it is okay to try to learn people and understand them and kind of know what makes them tick. It's same thing holds true in a marriage, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And you're just not going to know your spouse as well unless you dig in and you seek them out, and you make sure that they are seen and heard, and you just really want to have that conversation with them. So it all rings true in both a professional or even in a personal situation.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. No, that's super good. And I love talking about, I know you mentioned it was a consequence if the employee leaves, but it's a benefit if they stay.
Right.
And there's so many benefits to this concept of peeling back the onion, getting to know your employees, like even productivity. Like I just know like the times where I've felt more valued and seen in a company, like I'm going to work harder and I'm going to offer to help others. So, I mean, there's just so many benefits to doing this. It's not just, I just want to get my job done and not talk to people. No, let's see the benefits in doing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it brings, diversity, so to speak, to the table too. Like if you know that this person has a skill set or a strength in this area, and you're working on a completely different project, you may go back to that person again because your core team doesn't have that skill, right? So if you start to learn people from that perspective, then you bring a whole different level of collaboration to the table, the whole different hearts and minds things we talk about, right? Yes. If I know Madeline's going to be more engaged, if I bring her into this because she feels that she feels needed or wanted, all those kinds of things, then it's going to bring that cohesiveness to the team and among the relationships at the table.
Yeah, there's been many times where that's been helpful, like just like examples, like whenever Melissa would be like, hey, do you want to join me in on this conversation with this client? We're going to be talking about this. And it's not necessarily something that I specifically do, but I could grow in that area and potentially do it, or have a conversation with a client like that conversation. So that's another way, just being seen, that I valued being brought in on those conversations and being curious that even whenever you were talking, Melissa, another topic that was to my mind was like being curious about other people's personal lives and like getting to know them personally, but even their job role. Like if they're really good at like what they do and you're like, man, I want to learn how to use that software that you're, like maybe I don't specifically like do that, but I have some questions about it and I'd love to like sit over your shoulder and like watch you do that. So there's just a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be all, what'd you do this weekend and tell me all about your kids. You can keep it at a surface level that's still getting underneath some levels. If you don't feel super comfortable doing it right away.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, thank you so much for listening. This was super insightful. I appreciate both you, Jason and Melissa, for jumping in here and talking a little bit more, especially Jason coming up with this title. That's very creative. Peeling back the onion can keep you from crying. So good. And if you would like to know more about our training program that we mentioned that has those kind of modules about peeling back the onion and getting to know your employees, we've got employee trainings and leadership trainings that you can check out on our website. And I will have that link down below. But thank you again for listening.
Thank you for joining us today on the John Harrison Podcast. As you know, we believe that a positive work culture creates a ripple effect that extends into families and communities. If you found anything of value in today's episode, please share it with somebody so they can hear it as well. And if you have questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, please fill out the form below.